Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Girid Bharadari Jai Gopi Jana Ballabha Girid Bharadari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vishwam Sabadara Jikataya Stoda Sisi Made Si Bhakti Vedanta. Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Vishwam Sabadara Jikataya Stoda Sisi Made Bhakti Siddhanta Sajitako Prabhupada Ki. Go Premanandi. Om Gana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Tonight we will attempt to speak on two aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Aishvarya and Madhurya, opulence and sweetness. And this day today, informally known as Diwali, and more accurately known as Deepavali, or Deepamalika, is a day in which you have two pastimes that you can remember. One of the Aishvarya Leela, the opulence Leela, and the other of the Madhurya Leela, the sweetness Leela. Bear in mind that there's much more to Deepavali than lights and fireworks and sweets. Today you can think about how to magnify your bhakti, because the more bhakti you have, the more the darkness in the heart is illuminated. So it's very wonderful. In Ayodhya today, in India, 2.6 million lamps were lit. But even more wonderful is the bhakti of the sincere devotees of Ram and Krishna. Let's begin with Ram Leela, and then after discussing some of the opulence of Ram Leela, we'll go to the sweetness of Braj Leela. So as I said before, it's all happening on the same day. For the Ram Bhaktas, Lord Ram's entrance into Ayodhya, his return, is the everything. And for the Krishna Bhaktas, the sweetness of Braj Leela and the Damodar Leela is unforgettable and unsurpassable. So you know how when Ram and Sita were returning to Ayodhya, there was Bharat for many years, just drinking some kind of barley rice mixed with cow urine, wearing tree bark as clothes, matted hair. He refused to try and enjoy or be comfortable in any kind of way as long as Ramchandra was gone. So upon the return of Ramchandra to Ayodhya, as Ramchandra reached the edge of the city, Bharat took Ramchandra's wooden shoes and put them on his own head and came to meet Ram. This is a sign of utmost humility. Ram was already feeling sad hearing about the austerities of Bharat. Of course, you should know Bharat is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as Lakshman. Hearing about Bharat's austerities during Ram's absence made Ram feel sad. So Ramchandra's approaching Ayodhya, and Bharat is there with the slippers on his head. And then they have the great reunion, and the procession enters Ayodhya with Ram's wooden shoes leading the way, carried by Bharat. The reign of Lord Ramchandra was so outstanding that there was no ill effects of the material body. As you know or will find out, the material body is a bag of problems waiting to happen. But during the reign of Ramchandra, there were no ill effects of the body, no ill effects of material nature. Shukadeva Goswami says there wasn't even death for those who didn't want it. And Ramchandra was the perfect father of the citizens, showing all rulers of yesterday, today, and tomorrow how to benefit the people. The people were trained in proper qualities. So Srila Prabhupada explains in one purport that what's the point in a leader of a government collecting taxes from the people if the leader doesn't know how to train the people in good qualities? And that's what you have going on today. Leaders are vying for the top post with no program about how to uplift people in terms of their character, their qualities, their behavior. But Ramchandra was not like that. He treated the people under him as dependents, needing training. And he made sure they were trained according to the Varnashrama system. So Srila Prabhupada tells us during this chapter of Ram Leela, 2 chapters by Shukadeva Goswami, Srila Prabhupada tells us that there's such potency in the name Ram and Krishna that even today during Kali Yuga, all the features of such a yuga can emerge if we take seriously the potency of the names Ram and Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada assures us there's such potency in the Hare Krishna movement. It has the potential to bring back such a yuga during Kali Yuga. Just as Lord Ramchandra, his regime had environmental effects, the Bhagavatam describes. All the features of nature were beneficial, productive, overflowing. So this shows you how Krishna consciousness should be the topmost priority, because then material nature will follow, being beneficial. Then Shukadeva Goswami proceeds to tell us how Ramchandra would perform yagyas, sacrifices for himself. You would say, what is this? For himself? But who else can he do it for? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like in Krishna Leela, in Dwarka, Narada Muni found Krishna in the morning in the palace. Krishna's meditating on himself after rising. Who else is he supposed to meditate on? But we should not take that as an invitation to consider that we are the supreme and we should meditate on ourselves. We're not impersonalists. But Ram, who else is he supposed to meditate on? Meditation is meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he meditates on himself because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He performs yajna for himself. So in performance of the yajna, he gave away everything he had to the brahmanas. He gave it away in charity. That's described in the Vedic way, that he gave everything in all four directions, north, south, east, west. Give it away, give it away. He gave everything except the clothes and ornaments he was wearing. Sita Devi gave away everything, all her ornaments, except her nose ring and her bracelet. Just gave it away to the brahmanas. Take it. It is the activity of the Kshatriyas to give in charity, and it's the activity of the brahmanas to receive charity. But the brahmanas cannot keep more than what they can use for living a simple life. So upon receiving all the land in all four directions, all the wealth of Ram, all the opulence of Ayodhya, upon receiving that, what did the brahmanas do? They gave it all back. They took it, they accepted, because that's one of the functions of a brahmana, to accept charity and then to give charity. So they gave it back to Ram. They said, we are so pleased and satisfied knowing that you in the core of our heart are driving away all the ignorance. We don't need any material donation. What do you think? You'd probably say, well, they should have taken both. Take the money and the illumination in the heart. But these are real brahmanas, not caste brahmanas. Not someone who just wears a thread. They're real brahmanas, so they graciously received Ramchandra's giving everything away. Even Sita Devi gave everything away. All her jewelry, all her ornaments, except her nose ring and bracelet. The brahmanas accepted it, but they said, we're so satisfied that you are just driving away the ignorance in our heart. We don't want anything material. So they gave it all back. So this was the power, the opulence of Lord Ram's reign. But today, we also celebrate an intimate Braj Leela of Mother Yashoda binding little Krishna. Yashoda means one who gives fame. She gave fame to Krishna by showing how a devotee can conquer Krishna with pure love. That's the deepest meaning of Yashoda. One who gives fame. In the Dhammadrastic third prayer, what do we hear? Iti drik svalila bir ananda kunde swagosham nembhajantam akyapayantam tadiyeshitageshu bhaktarjitatvam puna prematas tam sata vritti vande. Iti drik, here in Vrindavan, something special is going on. What's special going on in Vrindavan? The drowning of all the inhabitants, all the Brajbasis, in the Ananda Kund, the pool of liquid Ananda. Wouldn't you like to plunge into that pool? Iti drik salila bir. Swalila, Krishna's own personal stock of pastimes, is being displayed. And as we said, those personal pastimes are like a pool, a kund of Ananda. And all the Brijbasis are plunged into it. Swagosham namajantam akyapayantam. This situation is meant to teach. Not only is it for Krishna's pleasure, but it's meant to show something. Tadi geshitab. What's the rest? Jitattvam. Krishna wants to show a lesson that you may be attached to him in opulence, but that's nothing compared to those attached to him in sweetness. He wants to teach that lesson by the Damodar Leela, but he's only teaching that lesson to qualified persons, not to atheists, Mayavadis, impersonalists. He's not teaching the lesson to them. He's teaching the lesson to those who are attached to him in Aishwarya, in power and opulence. He wants to show there's something better. And that's something better. Puna prema tastam shata vritti vande. We offer our obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. We're offering our obeisances not simply to Lord Damodar, but we're offering our obeisances to the pure bhakti by which Damodar comes under control. So we were talking about the correlation between Ram Leela and Krishna Leela. You can see that clearly in Chaitanya Leela. When Lord Chaitanya tells Murari Gupta, I know you're a Ram Bhakta, but I want you to start focusing on Krishna instead. Murari Gupta took everything Mahaprabhu said very seriously. Mahaprabhu told him, Krishna Leela is sweeter. There's nothing to compare. Ram is very majestic, but Krishna has that special sweetness. What are Krishna's special 4 characteristics that he doesn't share with any other incarnation or expansion, plenary portion? Who knows? Number 1, Venu Madhurya, the sweetness of the flute playing. Number 2, Lila Madhurya, sweet, intimate pastimes. Number 3, Rupa Madhurya, his beautiful transcendental form. And number 4, Prema Madhurya, such intimate loving affairs with his associates, with his devotees. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna doesn't share that with Ram, doesn't share that with Nrsimha, doesn't share that with any avatar. So in Vrindavan, Damodar is demonstrating to those who are attached to the Lord in opulence. Sometimes we read in the Shastra that we should study all about the powers and glories of Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, it says like this: someone who understands the power and glory of Krishna can engage fully in devotional service. Other times we are told, don't try to understand Krishna in detail. It's impossible. Just try to love Krishna. So it's 2 sides of a coin. We have to keep both in mind. Because the more you know Krishna, the more you'll love Krishna. At the same time, how can you know Krishna fully, completely? Krishna's potencies are always expanding. He knows his own potencies and then has to know again because the potencies are constantly increasing. So how is it that we can understand Krishna fully, completely? That's not possible. At the same time, we're told our main activity is to love Krishna. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna explains some of his opulences to Arjuna, at the end, what does Krishna conclude? What's the use in my explaining all these things? My potencies are unlimited. You should just understand, Arjuna, that with a single fragment of myself as Paramatma, I pervade everyone and everywhere. With just an expansion of myself, a part of myself. So Krishna, in his Damodar Leela, wants to teach a lesson to those who are attached to him in opulence, like the Ram Bhaktas. He wants to show nothing surpasses the Ananda Kund of Braj. But he's showing this to qualified persons, because to be attached to Krishna in Vaikuntha opulence or Ayodhya opulence is a high qualification. So Krishna, to that select audience, wants to show there's something even better. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Murari Gupta, enough of Ram worship for you. I want you to worship Krishna. Krishna is so sweet. His pastimes are so personal and intimate, even more than Ram. So Murari Gupta took that order seriously. He tried. He stayed up all night, trying to withdraw his head from the lotus feet of Ram and just do Krishna Bhakti. He tried. And then the next morning, he went to see Mahaprabhu and said, I tried, and I tried, and I tried. Let me just give up my body because I could not fulfill your order. I tried. I've sold my head to the lotus feet of Ram, and I can't take it away. Lord Chaitanya then said to him, it's natural that you will respond like that because you are Sakshat Hanuman. You're directly Hanuman. So naturally, you cannot withdraw your head from the lotus feet of Ram. And Lord Chaitanya explained, it's the nature of a real devotee that even if the master wants separation, the devotee cannot handle it. And vice versa. If the devotee wants separation, the master won't allow it. So Lord Chaitanya explained, this is why you are so focused on Ram. Let it stay like that. So let's go to the pastures of Braj, the village, and there Mother Yashoda has a problem with her child. She's worried. He keeps doing mischief, breaking into others' houses, and as Mukanchora, stealing butter, milk products, doing mischief. What to do? So she decided, maybe there's something insufficient about the milk sweets in my own home. Maybe what my maidservants aren't preparing isn't good enough for my little Krishna. So Mother Yashoda arranged to get milk from a select group of Nanda Maharaj's unlimited cows. She got milk from very rare cows, a group of them that gave specially flavored milk. And she herself was taking that milk and making it into yogurt and then into butter. She wouldn't entrust that task to her maidservants. She thought they'll probably burn the milk. So this is why the milk was boiling on the stove. That's how you know Damodar Leela begins. But before that, Krishna, you see, this pastime took place in the morning. And the maidservants were doing other household chores. What were the men doing? They were all out gathering materials for Indra Puja. This is before Krishna stopped them. So the Gopas were all out collecting materials, resources for Indra Puja. The maidservants were doing other household chores. And Mother Yashoda is herself churning with the with the device for churning yogurt into butter. So, where was Krishna in this early morning hour? He was sleeping, but he woke up hungry. So his mother is singing his glories and churning the yogurt into butter. And what does Krishna do? Little Krishna. He leaves his room and comes to where she's churning, and he grabs the churning rod and stops her from churning. Mother Yashoda thought, this child is very clever. He grabbed the churning rod and stopped it, indicating he wants to be fed. So Mother Yashoda sits down and puts Krishna on her lap and begins to feed him, staring into his beautiful face. All of a sudden, she notices the milk on the stove is boiling over. What does she do? She puts Krishna down and races to the stove to rescue the milk from boiling over. Now you might think, because you know what's going to happen next, little Krishna is going to be angry. You might think, why didn't she hold on to him and run to the stove? But the acharyas point out that she had to go quickly. And she couldn't go quickly if she's carrying Krishna. So she put him down so she could race to the stove. But Krishna didn't like it. So what did little Krishna do? He showed tears in his eyes. Now, some acharyas say the tears were false, that he was faking it. Others say the tears were real. In any case, there were tears in his eyes. Everyone agrees. And he bit his lip. Have any of you ever been so angry, or your children been so angry that they bite the lip? So while his mother is at the stove tending to the milk, little Krishna, Bal Gopal, decides to make some commotion. He very expertly takes a small stone and punctures a hole in the butter pot. There's the churning rod, goes into the butter pot. He punctured a hole into the pot, and the liquid spread all over the floor. Partially churned butter. In between, the intermediate state between yogurt and butter. It started spreading all over the floor. And then Krishna took off for an adjoining room where there was butter in pots hanging from the roof. So Mother Yashoda returns, and she sees on the floor this mess. Mothers know what that feeling is like. And she immediately understands, this is the work of my child. My child has done this. She was smiling to herself. Where is he? Where is he? How does she find him? How does she look for him? By the butter-smeared footprints. This is detective work in Vrindavan. Tracking Krishna down. No GPS system. Just butter-smeared footprints. So she follows those footprints, and there is Krishna. He has got a mortar for grinding spices, an alukala, and he's standing on top of it and reaching into butter pots hanging from the ceiling where the butter is stored, scooping out the butter pots and feeding the monkeys. So Mother Yashoda wants to catch him in the act, doing such mischief. So she's moving very quietly, very stealthily. But Krishna, while he's eating butter and passing butter to the monkeys, he's always looking over each shoulder. He can see she's coming, she's coming. So he jumps down and runs. And that is described in the first prayer of Damodarastik. Namam Ishvaram Satchidanandarupam Lasa Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam. If you want to enter into this Damodar Leela, the first you must understand that Krishna is the supreme Ishvar. He's Parameshwar. Otherwise, you'll miss the whole point. How even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unlimited, perfect, and complete, comes under the control of his pure devotee. Lasa kundalam gokule brajamanam. His shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro. Everything that Krishna wears is so important and is non-material. All his paraphernalia is fully spiritually conscious. So his earrings are swinging to and fro, sometimes touching his cheeks. How did the earrings get such fortune? His cheeks are generally only kissed not by earrings, but by Mother Yashoda, and more confidentially by someone else. Lasa kundalam gokule brajamana. And she catches him. She's chasing him. Catching him from behind, like you apprehend some criminal. He's running because he saw her coming after him. And she had a stick in her hand. So Krishna's running. How can you catch the Supreme Personality of Godhead? But she caught him from behind, apprehended him like the police catch a crook who's running away. So that's the first miracle, that she caught Krishna from behind as he's running. And she has him by one hand. With one of her hands, she has Krishna, his hand in her hand. The other hand, she's holding a stick. So what does Krishna do? He knows exactly what to do. What does he have to do? Cry. Not only cry, but his whole body is shaking. The pearl necklaces around his neck are shaking. He's putting on a topmost performance because he doesn't want to be chastised. The acharyas point out, Mother Yashoda is saying, "Why did you do this, you butter thief, you mischief maker, you naughty boy?" And Krishna is pleading with her as he's crying, rubbing his eyes. What do you call the black stuff you put around the eyes? It's running down his face because of the tears, but still he looks infinitely beautiful. What would you look like if your kajan was dripping down your face? Has it happened? But for Krishna, it's simply another way of being beautiful. So his body is shaking so much, his necklaces are shaking, he's sobbing, he's breathing heavily. He's doing everything he can to avoid being chastised. He's pleading with his mother, put the stick down, put the stick down. And she's saying, first you promise, no more mischief, no more mischief. Put the stick down, then I'll promise. So then, Mother Yashoda is the best at child psychology. She's thinking, I don't want this boy to be too afraid of me. It's not good, not healthy for his psychology if he gets too frightened of me. So therefore she decided to put the stick down. But she has to do something. It's her child. She's protecting him, training him, disciplining him. She has to do something, so she decides. He's so restless, he may run out into the forest any moment. The best thing I can do is tie him up, because I have things to do in my house. And everything in her house is meant for the pleasure of whom? For Krishna. So it's not like she's neglecting Krishna. 100% everything in her life, in her house, in her family, is meant for Krishna's pleasure, with not the slightest amount for anything else. Just like the milk on the stove that was boiling was especially meant for Krishna. And she has things to do, housework to do, because this is Krishna's home. But how can she do the housework if Krishna's always running here and there, restlessly doing mischief? So that's why she thought to tie him to the alukala, to the mortar for grinding spices. Keep him from racing off into the forest and to allow her to do her household chores. So she tied him. But it wasn't so easy. Everyone knows what happened. Krishna his Balgopal form is very small. But she couldn't get the rope around his waist. It was always 2 fingers too short. No matter how many ropes she got to put together to get around his waist. Can you believe that? But how can you tie up someone who has no inside or outside? How do you do that? For the sake of the Leela, Krishna has his childlike form, but Krishna is unlimited. So he's showing his mother, his Aishvarya. You think I'm an ordinary child? Watch this. If I don't want, you can't tie me up. You can't get a rope around me, around my little waist. Not possible. And what is Mother Yashoda's determination? She's thinking, I don't care if I have to stay here all day tying one rope after another. I will bind my child. The elder gopis watching, they're smiling. There's something special about this boy. He can't be tied up. Mother Yashoda had gathered all the ropes in the village, trying to tie one rope with another to make up for that same gap that always appeared of 2 fingers. So the elder gopis were watching, thinking, this child can't be bound. This is a special child. And Mother Yashoda has the determination. I will discipline my child. And she's getting fatigued, has drops of transcendental perspiration on her face. Finally, Krishna decides, I have to be compassionate to my mother. She loves me so much, I'll let her bind me, not exactly with the rope, but by her love. Bhakti Badham, bound by bhakti. So this Leela is showing everyone. Swalila, Krishna's personal stock of pastimes, by which all the inhabitants of Braj are drowning in the Ananda Kund, the pools of liquid ecstasy, And he's teaching persons attached to the Aishwarya, the opulence. He's teaching persons attached to Ram Leela, there's something sweeter. But again, remember, he's not teaching this lesson for atheists, materialists, impersonalists, Mayavadis. Tadi Eshita Geshu Bhakcharji Chatvam. He's teaching it to those devotees who are in the Vaikuntha mode. He's teaching them the inner glories of Goloka Vrindavan. So today is Deepavali. And yes, you can glorify Lord Ram for returning to Ayodhya. But for the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's especially known as the day Mother Yashoda demonstrated how a devotee can conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead by love. Krishna wants that. He wants to come under the control of his pure devotees. I always tell the story. You've probably heard it before. I was flying from Melbourne to Sydney, and I was at the airport at the gate, waiting to board the plane, and there were many gates all together. Maybe 200 persons, 300 persons were seated and standing, waiting to board their flights at the various gates. And so there was this businessman. He was obviously a businessman, well attired, casual dress, but very nicely dressed. He had his wife, very nicely dressed, and a 4-year-old child. And the 4-year-old child was standing in front of him and pointing to the floor, saying, "Down, Daddy, down." And in the middle of 300 people watching, the man would throw himself off the seat on his back on the floor with his hands up in the air. And then he would get up and sit in the chair, and again the little girl say, "Down, Daddy, down." And he would throw himself off the chair again, his back on the floor. He's nicely dressed when he's on the floor. And this would happen 10 times. And everyone is watching. Hundreds of persons are watching, and they're all thinking, "Oh, this is very nice." That shows you, even conditioned souls like to see something that imitates the conquest of pure love. And the man was loving it. The father of the little girl was loving it. Grown man in his mid-30s, nicely dressed, throwing himself on the floor of the airport again and again in response to the command of his 4-year-old daughter. He's relishing. He's enjoying. And all the people watching, they were smiling. "Oh, this is so nice." So there you can see a perverted reflection, a drop of what Damodar Leela is all about. So maybe we have time for 1 or 2 questions. Yes.
My question is like when I was reading Bhagavatam, like when I see Hiranyakashipu, he's such a self-realized soul when he's like pacifying his mother, pacifying his brother's wife and their children. He's like such a realized soul. He's like talking completely out of the bodily concept of life, but he still has like demoniac mentality.
I wouldn't say he's a self-realized soul, as you said. He understood that he's not the body, but Mayavadis also understand that. A Mayavadi impersonalist understands they are not the body. We are not the body. But they think we are the all-pervading spiritual energy. We are God. So just to understand you're not the body is not self-realization. It's the beginning. But then you have to have Krishna realization. And that is complete self-realization. Okay? Yes. Speak loudly, please.
I was thinking, since you said Damodar Dhila is especially for those devotees who know about opulence of.
It's meant to teach a lesson to those who are attached to Vaikuntha opulence. It's not only for them. Teach especially them. Tadiyeshi Tageshu Bhaktarji Tattvam. Yes, go on. Well, as a Krishna Bhakta, you know from the first verse, Namam Ishvaram Satchidananda Rupam. This is not an ordinary child. This is the Supreme Personality of God with a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He's a Supreme Controller. Obviously, if you're a Bhakta, you know that. So then, how do we? You listen, you hear it again and again and again. And your realizations will increase again and again and again. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. Who will chant for 10 minutes? Is that?